Well, since death is a fundamental and inevitable part of life, should we start dealing with it more openly? Death cafes offer an innovative take. They're informal gatherings where people discuss issues and death and life with a cake and tea. And more than 900 have been held across the world within the last few years. So let's talk now to Jon Underwood, who is the founder of the Death Cafe franchise. Jon, thanks so much for being with us. Why did you come up with this idea of having a place for people to come and have tea and cake and talk about death?
Well, I just think that kind of thing should be available. I think talking about death is a very normal thing to do. I know most people don't want to, but for those of us that do want to do that, there should be a safe space in which to do so.
So you personally felt that there was nowhere for you to go, that you could safely talk about these issues?
Absolutely, it was something I wanted myself, and then I read about the work of a Swiss sociologist called Bernard Kretaz, who established something called Café Mortel in Switzerland in 2002, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, I want to do that too.
It's become hugely popular. I mean, are you surprised by the fact that the idea has taken off around the world?
Yes, I mean, it is surprising, but it's really wonderful, and I think it signifies that things are changing very, very quickly in this environment. And I think one factor that we can point to about that is the baby boomer generation coming to the top of the escalator, as it were. And that's a generation that have had the best services throughout their lives, and I don't think they'll settle for second-class service when it comes to the end of their lives.
So what's the motives generally of people who come to these groups? Do they generally have something in particular that they want to discuss? It's
very diverse, and the Death Cafe is an open forum. We don't have any agenda, we don't have any answers to anything. So some people want to talk about their experiences. Often they'll share stories. Some people talk about practical things like planning ahead, the end of their life, their funerals and whatnot. And other people talk about their feelings about death and how that affects the way they behave in life.
Do you have professionals there to help if something traumatic comes up?
Sometimes we do, but generally there's a lot more laughter than tears. It tends to be a very safe environment. I mean, everyone who comes, because of the name, knows exactly what they're getting, and it just makes for a fantastic conversation.
But crucially, you do have some kind of facilitator who helps the process.
Yes, we always have a facilitator, and it's their job to ensure that it's a safe space, it's comfortable, everyone gets heard, and of course, if there are any issues, then they know the services to refer those people to.
I'm not sure how much you've heard from the various groups around the world, but are there common themes that keep coming up, or in different countries do different issues arise?
One thing that consistently comes up is what's important in life. If you recognise that death is inevitably going to come one day, you know that you've a certain time left, and then the question is, what is important for me to do in that time? And that's different for everyone. So talking about death, for me at least, is the ultimate prioritisation exercise.
How important is the tea and cake?
Tea and cake really helps. I mean, some people have a fear that by talking about death, it will attract death and make it more likely to happen. And eating and drinking is a conscious act of nurturing one's body, and it helps mitigate that fear.
Does there tend to be any kind of religious element? Because I wonder, perhaps, you know, the church used to play a role in talking about death and the afterlife and what next. If you take that out of the equation, is someone's religion something still they bring into this forum?
Very much so. We're open to any sort of religious beliefs, but we're very uncomfortable with any proselytising. And I think the sort of decline of organised religion as an influence on people's lives has made the kind of forum that Death Cafe offers more important and useful.
And very briefly, Jon, any critics?
We had Alex Jones from Fox News really went to town on YouTube about Death Cafe. For some reason, he thought it was a really terrible thing to be doing, but I don't understand that at all.
OK, Jon, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us. Thanks for being with us for this edition of Impact. See you again.